Bend's neighborhoods are not created equal. Some neighborhoods are thriving with new schools, outdoor access, and strong appreciation, while others struggle with high cost, long commutes, or even limited amenities. Choose wrong and you could regret it for years. That's why in this video, I'm ranking Bend's neighborhoods from worst to best. I'm Luke Callahan, your top realtor here in Bend, Oregon. I've helped families, retirees, and remote workers relocate to Bend from all over the country. So without further ado, let's get into the neighborhoods, and I'll tell you about how we've ranked each neighborhood before we get into it. To come up with a fair method of comparing neighborhoods, I've developed a scoring rubric on 4 main categories with 12 individual categories within that, on a 0 to 2 scoring rubric. So 0 is bad, 2 is great. So basically the range is 0 out of 24 because we've got 12 options and 2 being the max score for each of them. So if a perfect neighborhood gets 24 points, we know it's the top tier. Okay, we'll talk about all of these. So let's get into the neighborhoods. Okay, first up we have Deschutes River Woods. Some people call it the DR Dub. Now this is technically not in Bend, but it's actually to the southernmost point, just outside of Bend, and its southern flank actually comes from a lava flow. Bonus points if you can tell me which caldera created that lava flow. Okay, so what's up with the Deschutes River Woods and why has it ranked the worst in this? But to be honest, it's one of my absolute favorite neighborhoods, and I'll tell you why. It is a bit isolated, so it's kind of hard to get in and out of, but you get a bunch of 1/3 of an acre lots up to 2.5. You even occasionally find a 10-acre gem in there. So it's got big lot size. So what do I love about it? It's got, a lot of times you can have a shop, you can have a chicken coop, you can have a big acre, you can have your own space, and you're right 10 minutes, 15 minutes from downtown. Okay, so let's go through the list and see how it scores up. Feeling of community, 1. So it's rural, which actually, in my opinion, while it's rural, it's less dense, you get more community because you have a chance to know your neighbors. Oftentimes you even depend on them a little bit. Say the power goes out, you need a cup of sugar. There's more of that community vibe, so we give it a 1. Amenities, 0 out of 2. Unfortunately, there are very few amenities inside this neighborhood. You best have your own bees, your own chickens, and who knows, maybe even take a deer or 2 when nobody's not looking. Don't do that, I was just kidding. Proximity to shopping, 10 to 15 minutes to town, you're gonna end up commuting. Safety, it's super safe. You know, people that don't live there don't generally go there. So you got that kind of like, if you've ever lived on a dead end road, that kind of vibe of like, you know who's coming into your neighborhood. That's amazing. The one factor of safety in this that we have to talk about is wildfire risk. Now this is a huge one because just recently there's the whole map situation in Oregon where all these places lost the ability to get fire insurance. Thankfully that's remedied if you're buying into Deschutes River Woods. Absolutely, without a doubt, dial it in with your fire insurance. And then if you get dialed in with fire insurance, you're all good to go, but be mindful of this, okay? Home prices, we get a 2. We get a 2 out of, and if I didn't mention it, safety gets a 1 out of 2. Okay, home prices, we get 2 out of 2 because you get the most bang for your buck here in Deschutes River Woods. Okay, HOA cost, no HOAs here. This is the land of the free and the no HOA cost. So enjoy it, 2 out of 2. Home value growth, moderate. You know, it's not a booming place, so it's not spiking up there. They're not putting in a new library. They're not doing, there's basically developers are buying some stuff, adding some units, making it a bit denser. But other than that, there's not a ton of growth. So you will see growth here and it's moderate. So we get a 1 out of 2. Walkability, you'll walk to your neighbors, you'll know your neighbors, you'll walk there for dinner and have a cup of coffee in the morning. But other than that, coming and going, you're on your car or even your e-bike, it's a good 8 miles to town, so be prepared for that. But if you don't mind that, you're good. Desirability, depends who you're talking to. You're talking to a hillbilly like me who's got a sweet pea in his pocket and standing by a creek. I love DR, like it's the best. But it's not everybody's cup of tea, right? If you don't want to shop, if you don't need a ton of space, if you want to be walkable, this isn't your cup of tea. So again, 1 out of 2, you got to find the right folks. Access to trails. You've got river access, but you don't have a bunch of trails. And beyond that, say you're going up to the mountain, there isn't an easy way to get up to Mount Bachelor. So we call that a 1 out of 2. Traffic congestion, not terrible. You're going to get some bottlenecks on the way in and out, but other than that, it's pretty chill. calling that a 1 out of 2. Okay, so there you have it. We have Deschutes River Woods. We got a 14 out of 24. As the scoring goes, it's not the best, but if you're looking for acreage in a shop, I'd definitely highly recommend it. Just make sure you sort out the fire situation. Okay, on to the next neighborhood. We are talking about the Old Farm District. Let's go. Okay, so we've got the Old Farm District. This is quite literally named after where there was a bunch of old farms outside on the outskirts of Bend's. Many of today's homes sit on that land, and they used to be pastures or small farms. And you can still find some really nice acreages in there, but it's kind of in this mix where it's started out as farmland, been built on, and now it's getting denser and denser, and it's kind of this middle ground. The prices are really good. You'll see stuff in the 500 to 750 range, so it's super accessible. The classic thing is if you want to be close, 10 minutes to Costco. Our local favorites in the neighborhood, we've got Pilot Butte State Park, nearby Worthy Brewing, Larkspur Community Fitness, which is my favorite because with the Larkspur Center Fitness, you get access to Juniper Swim and Fitness. Okay. Popular developments in Old Farm are Bridges by Polish Homes in 2007. It's got a community center, clubhouse, outdoor swimming. So without further ado, let's get into the scoring and see how it does. Okay, so feeling of community. It's semi-rural, suburban, but because it's kind of lacking that pure intentional identity, we're giving it a 1 out of 2. Amenities, they're limited, but you have the 3rd Street corridor nearby, which has all the good spots. You got some good grocery shopping. It can get busy on the 3rd Street corridor, so amenities, we give it a 1 out of 2. Proximity to shopping, same deal. We're calling that a 1 out of 2. Proximity to school. We're still kind of on the outskirts a little bit, so we're gonna have to kind of commute to get to the good schools that we want to go to. And we're talking it's a 1 out of 2. So again, it's decent, it's not bad, it totally gets the job done. Safety, this is where it thrives. It is very safe in the Old Farm District. You don't have to worry at all. In a lot of ways, that's Bend in general. I mean, that's why so many of all of us, everybody has wanted to move to Bend because it's such a great place to raise a family, retire, and attract your friends to come move and hang out. So again, safety, 2 out of 2. Home prices, again, this is where it thrives. We're in that 500 to 750K, which crazy enough is becoming rare in Bend. So 2 out of 2. Great affordability in the Old Farm District. HOA costs, again, 2 out of 2 because there's not too many HOAs. Now, don't get me wrong, if HOAs are your thing and makes it so nobody parks their truck on the lawn, this isn't the place except for a few spots. Anything Polish builds generally has an HOA. Any community they build, they keep their communities looking good. Home value growth, what are we looking like? It's growing, but it's not the hottest market, so it's moderate value growth. We're calling it 1 out of 2. Diversity of homes. We've got acreage, we've got subdivisions, older homes. We've got some diversity here. So if you want the farm, if you want to live in a new development, you can make it happen in the Old Farm District, and we can help you do that. Walkability, it's super walkable as long as you can walk to your car. You are car dependent. So walkability, 0 out of 2. 0 out of 2. Desirability. Okay, underrated. It is totally underrated. It's great. You can get a sweet parcel. You can do your thing here, but it's not the most desirable. If you put your house up for sale, it's not going to sell within seconds because it's the hottest place. So we're calling it 1 out of 2. Access to trails. This is probably one of the biggest downsides in the Old Farm District. The access to trails is tough. So bear that in mind. Again, it's not the easiest to get to a trail. We're calling it 0 out of 2. And finally, we have traffic congestion. Not terrible once you're in Old Farm District, but getting there to and fro, that can get you. 3rd Street can really get choked up around rush hour times, and that's kind of your artery to get there. So be mindful of that. 1 out of 2. Okay, here's how we did. Total of 15 out of 24. All right, without further ado, let's get into our next neighborhood, Southwest Bend. Okay, Southwest Bend, let's talk about it. In short, this place is very suburban, a lot of stuff built in the 90s, 2000s, with kind of that family, commuter, suburban in mind. So families love the safe cul-de-sacs. The name comes, it's purely geographic, you get it, Southwest Bend, easy. With the kind of homes you're gonna see here, we'll see subdivisions again from the late 90s, 2010s, mostly craftsman and kind of Northwest contemporary style. And it was originally built for kind of young families, commuters. The local amenities, the local spots, if you wanna know, is like the Brookswood Plaza, you've got local sliced pizza, Snap Fitness. The price range, we're looking at $550,000 to $800,000, so it's pretty affordable. And so that kind of gives you a broad overview of it. So without further ado, let's go into our scoring rubric and see how it measures up. Okay, right on top, feeling of community, we've got a 1 because it's family friendly, suburban. It's got that great suburban vibe, but it doesn't have everything. You can't walk everywhere you need to go. You end up driving a lot, and anytime you end up driving more, it kind of takes away from that community feel. That's just my personal opinion. Let me know what you think about that. Amenities, it's limited inside. You know, there's a few, but it's a short drive to the old mill. So we call it a wash. It's like 1 out of 2. You can get most of what you need done, but inevitably you're gonna be going quite a bit to do other things. Proximity to shopping, 10-minute drive, pretty doable, super doable. Everything's doable in Bend, let's be real. But it's not perfect. We're calling it a 1 out of 2 because you're gonna end up driving a lot. You don't get to take your hoverboard wherever you go. Proximity to school, same deal. So we're calling it a 1 out of 2. You settle in here, you do great. Your kids will be stoked. Safety, this place is safe. And again, you're gonna see that theme throughout the video. Bend is safe and Southwest Bend is no different. This place is safe, full of cul-de-sacs. You know who's coming down your street. You can't complain, it's good. 2 out of 2. Okay, home prices. Again, this is where it shines. It's much more affordable than a lot of other places in Bend. So with that and the family aspect, we're calling that a 2 out of 2 because you can get here, park it, get to work and do your thing. Okay, HOA cost. There's a lot of areas here without an HOA if that's your thing, and there's some with the tidy yards and everything you want if it is your thing. So you got both options. We're calling it a 2 out of 2. That's good. Home value growth. Again, slow and steady here. This is a super solid place, continues to grow. It's never gonna get any further away from downtown Bend, so it's just gonna continue to grow as Bend grows and slowly creeps its urban growth boundary out. Don't tell anybody I said that, that'll never happen, but of course it will, and this will be closer and closer in as time goes on. Give it 50 years, you know? So again, home value growth, we're calling it a 1 out of 2. Walkability, same deal, 0 out of 2. Desirability. This is, I think the best way to describe this neighborhood is it's the minivan. It's practical, but it's not prestige. So yeah, it's desirable because it's simple, humble, modest. It gets the job done, but it's not over the top. Somebody knocking down your door before your house is even listed for sale saying, I want to buy it. So we're calling that a 1 out of 2. And access to trails. You got some access to the Deschutes and parks, but it's still not perfect. So we're calling this a 1 out of 2. Pretty good, pretty decent. Traffic congestion. What is going on here? We've got the Reed Market bottleneck, and if you know, you know. Just best don't go around 5 o'clock, okay? And that's the deal. You're gonna be encountering Reed Market. 1 out of 2. It's not terrible, but you're gonna deal with it. 1 out of 2. So how'd we do? We're calling it 16 out of 24. Not so bad. If you want the suburban experience, the safe cul-de-sac, I highly, highly, highly recommend Southwest Bend. Okay, and next up we have Boyd Acres. Let's talk about Boyd Acres. Here we go. It was named for the Boyd family farmstead and only an early homestead north of Bend. The acres reflects its roots as farmland. Let's talk about the vibe here. We call this like kind of the workhorse neighborhood. This is kind of the place that gets it done. It's practical. It's on the north end of town. You're gonna find some good home prices. So a lot of young families will start here because it's affordable, and then eventually, you know, sometimes they'll trade up to the west side. Or this is like kind of the perfect entry level, super accessible. We've got a lot of new construction along Cooley Road, and it's really reshaping it to give it more amenities and make it like a real destination neighborhood. So without further ado, let's get into the scoring and talk about it. Okay, feeling of community. We are growing, but we're still more in that transitional with a mix of industrial, commercial. So it's got total potential. The trajectory's heading in the right way, easy access, and we're calling it a 1 out of 2. Okay, so that's a good spot. Amenities, some local businesses. So it doesn't have that like core downtown that you're gonna walk to, but it's kind of got a lot of what you need. You get access to Costco. So again, amenities, 1 out of 2. Proximity to shopping, 2. We're close to Cascade Village, North 97 shopping corridor. If you're a guy who wants to go to Home Depot, go to Lowe's, do the thing, this place is it, right? It's easy to get over there. You're not going to hit a bunch of traffic, and it's all right there. So 2 out of 2. Proximity to public schools, 1 out of 2. So as long as you got a school close, you're doing pretty good. Safety, it's very, 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 very safe. But in the relativity score, we got to give it a 1 out of 2 instead of a 2 out of 2. Home prices, this is where it shines. Again, this is where you're gonna find a great house for a great deal, and it's super affordable compared to the west side. So 2 out of 2. HOA cost, again, very few HOAs, super low cost, 2 out of 2, we're doing pretty good. Home value growth, it's steady, it's continuing to grow, more developments are going in, more amenities, all of that, and it'll just continue to get better and better, but it's slower than the west side, so we're calling it a 1 out of 2. Diversity of homes. Okay, so we've got a wide range. We've got apartments, townhomes, single family. We have the 55 plus retirement community. So there's kind of something for everybody here. So we're calling it a 2 out of 2. Walkability, where we at? Again, car centric. You're driving everywhere. It's decently bikeable. You can get by, but for the most part, you plan to be driving around. We're calling it a 0 out of 2 for walkability. Desirability. It's not a dream neighborhood by any means, but it's practical. It gets the job done, gets you here to Bend. So again, 1 out of 2 for desirability. Access to trails. There's some, but really at the end of the day, you're gonna have to drive to get to the trails. So calling it a 1 out of a 2. If trails are your thing, this isn't gonna be your main reason for moving here. Traffic congestion. This is another high point because you're kind of out of the fray. You got easy access to the highways. It's lighter traffic than the core of Bend. And so we're calling that a 2 out of 2. This is super doable. Yeah, you don't have to fight traffic all the time. This is a huge plus of this place. Okay, so what do we get? A 17 out of 24. Let's jump over to the west side and let's talk about Aubrey Butte. We've got Aubrey Butte, which kind of looks over all of Bend. Some people say it looks down on Bend. It is the prestige. It was built and developed in this way of kind of some of the best homes in Bend at the time. And you look out all over Bend, you're gonna end up driving everywhere. Beautiful homes. We're gonna see homes priced in the 1 million to 3 million plus range here. Mainly custom luxury homes, really high quality stuff, built with quality, meant to last. And mostly in the 90s to 2010s was the big boom on Aubrey Butte. Large lots, a lot of privacy, a lot of trees. I've talked to a lot of people on Aubrey about living in Aubrey, and you kind of go there for your own experience. There's less community vibe. There's less of that like know your neighbor, because you kind of have to drive, so you're not walking much, and everybody's got their own space, so it really creates this element of seclusion and privacy. And if that's what you want, that's what you get on Aubrey Butte. Really, it was the local favorites here in Aubrey Butte. You got the Aubrey Glen Golf Club and Spork, which is a great restaurant. You got to try it if you haven't already. And so basically what we're looking at with Aubrey Butte is like it's the hilltop prestige neighborhood, amazing views. You'll end up driving everywhere. And be prepared for when it's icy on that hill. You better have at least snow tires, all-wheel drive, and a bunch of weight in your car, and maybe studded tires, because it can get slippery. Let's start with our feeling of community like I touched on before. People who live on Aubrey Butte love it. They have a tremendous pride of ownership. We're calling it a 1 out of 2. Amenities, you've got access to the Northwest Bend amenities, great coffee shops right there, so 1 out of 2. Proximity to shopping, kind of same deal, 10 minutes to downtown and shopping. It's pretty easy to pop down the hill and get there, 1 out of 2. Schools, proximity to schools, you're just uphill from some of the best schools in Bend. You got the highest rated West Side schools right there, pop downhill, bingo, bango, bongo, you're doing math class, trigonometry, you're there, 2 out of 2. Safety, super safe. I mean, nothing safer than being on the top of your own hill, you know what I mean? So it's very safe. People know who's driving in the neighborhood. It's as safe as it gets, 2 out of 2. Home prices, these are among the highest in Bend. So our home prices are looking at like a 0 out of 2, because again, you're looking in that $1 to $3 million range. It's not super accessible, but if you have the money, the houses are super well built. bomber foundation, good materials, good orientation with the sun, all of that good stuff, good design. So home prices, 0 out of 2. Home value growth. This butte, you know, they're not making more buttes. They're not the lots are big, and so they consistently appreciate up here on the butte. We're looking at a 2 out of 2, not too bad. Diversity of homes. Yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, basically you're looking at big custom homes and you got a ton of different options to choose from. As long as you want a large custom home, there's a ton of diversity. If you don't want a large custom home, there's no diversity. So I'm assuming you want a large custom home. If you're going up Aubrey Butte, we're calling it a 2 out of 2 because there's some beautiful floor plans up there. Okay, walkability. Don't get me wrong, you can totally walk up and down Aubrey Butte. You'll be, what is the expression? Sweating like a gypsy with a mortgage, sweating like a grease monkey. I don't know what the expression is, and I dare not say it, but you'll be sweating. It's a good workout. And if you like it, good for you. But if you don't, you're gonna be driving everywhere. So I'm calling it a 0 out of 2. So anyways, desirability. It's a prestigious neighborhood. People wanna be up on the butte. They love the quality of the homes. They love the location of the butte. It's desirable when your house is up for sale. It might take a little bit longer to sell, but in the scheme of things, it's super desirable on the butte. People want to be up there and there's not a huge inventory, so you're in good shape. And again, I say it might be on the market a little bit just because of the price point. Anything north of $1 million takes a little bit longer, but that's nothing out of the ordinary. You got to find the right person for it. Access to trails. There's killer trails, killer dog parks all over the butte. You got everything on the west side. It's pretty sweet. 2 out of 2. Traffic congestion. It's not bad. The only spots you're going to get some congestion is down at the base of the butte with Newport, Shevlin Park. So be mindful of that, but up on the butte, it's chill. You're fine. So 1 out of 2 for congestion. All told, that gives us a grand total score of 17 out of 24 for Aubrey Butte. And without further ado, let's talk about the Orchard District. All right, we're talking about the Orchard District. And pop quiz, what kind of orchards was this district named after? What kind of fruit were they growing? I'll give you a hint. Hood River, Wenatchee, Central Washington, all famous for these 2 crops. You got it? Put it in the comments. You don't? I'll give you a hint. It's pears and apples. Okay, that's a pretty good hint. You're welcome. So the price range of the homes here, 500 to 800K. The homes is like a mix. It was really built out in the 50s to 70s. So you get some cool mid-century, you get some remodels. Some of the local favorites around here, we've got the On Tap food truck lot, Holland's Head Dog Park, and then you got access to a bunch of good stuff. So let's see how it stacks up with our fancy schmancy scoring rubric. Here we go. Feeling of community, dose out of dose. It's awesome. 2 out of 2. Older established neighborhood with a friendly vibe, right? So it's established, it's got charm, it's got a diversity of what was built, pretty good quality stuff. Amenities. So we got access to a lot of the kind of the stuff of whether it's work or the gym. Not so bad. Basically 1 out of 2. It's decent, not terrible. Proximity to shopping. 2 out of 2. It's super easy to get your shopping done, get in and out, all about. Orchard, you're getting closer to the core, so you're doing pretty well here. 2 out of 2. Proximity to schools, again, it's super solid. Good schools nearby, so 1 out of 2. Safety. The older parts can feel mixed, but generally very, very safe neighborhood. Again, we're not talking about living in a castle on top of Aubrey Butte, so we're calling it a 1 out of 2 for safety. Home prices, again, this is where this neighborhood thrives. You get accessible homes in that 500 to 800K range, pretty sweet. Definitely more affordable than the west side. So again, home price is 2 out of 2. Okay, the HOA cost. Again, very few HOAs because we're looking at a lot of these like 50s to 70s ranches. So 2 out of 2, no, very few HOAs to contend with. 2 out of 2. Home value growth, again, slow and steady, a 1 out of 2. Diversity of homes. Again, we've got old homes, remodels, infills, apartments. There's a lot of different housing stock here to get to know, wrap your head around. So tons of diversity here. We're calling it a 2 out of 2 for the options. Walkability. It's getting more walkable in parts, especially closer to Midtown, and depending on how far you want to walk. But you know, the streets are super comfortable to walk. You get some good views. So 1 out of 2 for walkability. Desirability. Honestly, this is becoming more and more desirable. Again, not as desirable as some of the top fast-growing, dense neighborhoods, or even some of the big ticket neighborhoods where you're gonna buy $1 million Craftsman from 1920, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Hold your horses. But it's desirable, okay? So it's 1 out of 2 desirability. Access to trails. It's a little less accessible, so to speak. We're calling that a 0 out of 2. And traffic congestion, our final one. What's your guess? It is busy along Greenwood, 3rd. You're gonna hit some traffic, 1 out of 2. Okay, now jumping back over to the west side, and we're gonna talk about Summit West. All right, we're talking about Summit West. Basically, it's like, if you're a mountain biker, trail runner, this is heaven. The challenge can be the pricing. The pricing is $1 to $2.5 million is kind of the median range you're gonna see there. It was really built in 2000s. You'll see a lot of modern Northwest contemporary homes, larger lots. So without further ado, let's see how it stacks up in our scoring rubric. Here we go. Right off the bat, feeling of community is excellent. People who want to live in Summit West very intentionally move there, so that there's like a very strong sense of adventure, sense of making the most of the outdoors. So we're calling it a 2 out of 2. Super strong feeling of community. Amenities, a little bit limited inside as far as it goes, but it's a short drive to Galveston, to everything you want to get. So 1 out of 2. Proximity to shopping, same deal. You're about 10 to 15 minutes to downtown, depending on traffic. And again, 1 out of 2. Everything's accessible, but you're gonna have to go there. Proximity to schools. You have access to the top rated schools in Bend on the west side here in Summit West. So you've got the best schools right here, 2 out of 2. Now, same with safety. This place is super safe. It's pretty much as safe as can be. A 2 out of 2. Safe, good safety, good schools. I mean, it's a great place for kids to run around, that's for darn sure. Home prices. Well, you had to give up something, right? So the home prices are a little steeper. We're talking, again, $1 million to $2.5 million, that range. You'll see stuff outside of there, of course, but expect to pay something in that range. So we're calling that a 0 out of 2 for the home prices. HOA cost. Now this is where we start to see the HOAs pop up. So again, in these developments, a lot of them have HOAs, and depending on which ones you're in, they can be moderate. So if you're in an HOA, you're gonna pay for it. Expect to. 1 out of 2. They're not the highest, but you're going to be paying an HOA, most likely. Home value growth, again, 2 out of 2. The land's a premium. Bend continues to grow, so the demand for these homes, it's a scarce commodity. So 2 out of 2 in terms of the home value growth. Diversity of homes. Basically, you're looking at large, newer homes. You're going to get that like Northwest, Craftsman, Contemporary. A lot of diversity within that range. And so if you want diversity within that range, you got a bunch. If you want something beyond that, or something that costs less than $1 million, you don't got that. So 1 out of 2. Walkability, not so good. You can walk around the neighborhoods. You're gonna be biking to get a glass of wine in the evening or driving. So you're pretty car dependent, 0 out of 2 because you're tucked away up in the hills. Desirability, okay, again, like I said earlier, it's got the prestige, it's got the views, it's outdoorsy, it's got everything you want except for the cheap price tag. And so with that, the desirability is super high. These places are scarce. There's more developments happening, but you can expect to sell your home easily if and when that time occurs. Access to trails, again, you know, people love getting a cup of coffee and going to Phil's Trailhead. And if you don't know, it's like the best mountain biking that Ben's got to offer right at the back door. So this wonderful, wonderful access to trails, 2 out of 2. Traffic congestion, some congestion near Century Drive, but for the most part, it's not too bad. So this is a pretty sweet spot to be. Not perfect, you're gonna get some traffic, so we're calling it 1 out of 2. So how do we all stack up? I think we're saying it's right around 17 out of 24. So we're doing pretty darn good. So next up we have Southeast Bend. Let's do it. Okay, Southeast Bend, in my opinion, and I think a lot of people's opinion, this is kind of the last frontier for affordable homes. We're seeing a ton of growth down here. It's right on the edge of the urban growth boundary. There's a bunch, it's right next to Caldera High School, which is an awesome high school. Beautiful. You got Alpenglow Park, new developments happening all the time. This place is up and coming. More and more amenities are gonna be here in the next 5 to 10 years. So I think you're in a great position if this place is appealing to you. So without further ado, let's talk about how it stacks up in our whole scoring rubric so you can really see its score. Let's talk about the feeling of community. It's growing. And with that means it's new people are moving in. They love it. They see it as a great place to settle in. And so with that comes the beginnings of really good community here. So I think this place is, again, just going to continue to get better. It's not perfect. It's not the 2 out of 2 community now, but I think give it 5 or 10 years, it's really going to be looking good. So I'm calling it a 1 out of 2 for feeling ahead of community. Amenities. Again, this place is growing. The amenities are developing. They're still limited, but it's pretty decent. So we're calling it a 1 out of 2. Not too bad, and definitely on the right trajectory. Proximity to schools. Again, we got great schools right in the neighborhood, so we're calling it a 1 out of 2. Safety. This place is super safe, super family friendly, super kind of like just tucked in on the edge. Super safe. You don't get a lot of traffic from people who don't reside there or are going to the high school, going to the park. Again, very safe, 2 out of 2. Home prices. This is it. This is where it excels, right? You got all that new development. It's on the edge of town, edge of the urban growth boundary. So with that, we have very accessible homes. So 2 out of 2 for home prices. HOA costs. There's a few HOAs, but they're super reasonable, and a lot of homes don't have any HOAs. So we're saying 2 out of 2. Home value growth. I think this is probably the most appealing part of this neighborhood because it's growing so fast, because there's so many new developments and schools and things are being built here in the near future. I think there's a tremendous amount of opportunity for home values to rise. Here, that's my guess. I could totally be wrong. But the trajectory is basically, generally, if you want home values to appreciate, you want to look for growth. And this place is growing rapidly. It's very accessible. So it's quite appealing to people. Good sense of community. I'm looking at a 2 out of 2 for the home values to rise. Diversity of homes. Again, we got a lot of new subdivision. We got mixed older housing stock. So we've got good diversity. I'd call it a 2 out of 2 because you can pretty much find what you're looking for here. Walkability. This is one area, again, where for the time being, it suffers. And suffer is a harsh term, but basically you're going to have to drive. You're going to have to, get to other neighborhoods to get what you're looking for. So we're calling it a 0 out of 2 for walkability. Pretty car dependent. Desirability. This is very much, it's not the prestigious, but people are aware of it. They know how good it's going to be. They know the trajectory. Everybody's aware that this place is just going to get better and better with time. So desirability is a 1 out of 2, and it's just going to keep getting better. Okay, access to trails. So again, we're on the east side, so we don't have super easy access to fills. We've still got to trek to do a lot of the mountain biking we want to do. With that said, we've got Alpenglow Park, which if you haven't been to it, I highly recommend. Really cool, tons of trails in it. So because of Alpenglow, I give it a 1 out of 2. As far as access to trails go. Traffic congestion. When you're in Southeast Bend, it's not bad at all. You really are doing pretty good when you're there. Now granted, you're gonna experience a little bit of traffic when you're trying to get downtown or get to shopping. So I'm calling it a 1 out of 2 because while you're in it, it's not bad, but inevitably you're gonna experience a little bit whenever you're going and doing your thing. Okay, I hope that helps. We got a total score of 17 out of 24. Okay, Southeast Bend, there you have it. And the next neighborhood we're talking about is Mountain View. Let's do it. All right, we're talking Mountain View. This is a beautiful neighborhood. And again, it's named because it's got killer views of the mountains. Now, what does it have also? Pine Nursery Park, technically not in Mountain View, but I'm calling it is. And Pine Nursery Park, it's amazing. Like kind of the classic anecdote is people say we pick Mountain View because it's got everything in the schools. It's just what we need, and more is getting built out all the time. So big fans of Mountain View. Let's see how it scores. Feeling of community. It's definitely got that suburban vibe where people are living there, doing their thing. 1 out of 2 feeling of community. Amenities, 2 out of 2. We've got St. Charles Hospital, which is the hospital provider in Bend. The parks, Pine Nursery, right? And then we've got great shopping nearby. This is, you're in it right here with Mountain View. Again, proximity to shopping. We got Whole Foods, Target, all super close, and even Costco's super close as well. 2 out of 2 for proximity to shopping. Proximity to schools. Schools are great. They're not the top west side, but they're maybe second. I mean, they're pretty darn good here. So we're saying 1 out of 2 for the schools. Can't beat it. Okay, safety. Super safe neighborhood. All the homes are super safe. The only gripe somebody might have is the busy roads and what comes with that. So you call it 1 out of 2. Okay, home prices. Super affordable relative to the west side, but you still get a lot of the perks. So we're saying 2 out of 2 for the home prices. HOA costs, very few. There's a few HOAs, but they're pretty reasonable. if they do exist. So we're saying 2 out of 2 for the HOA cost. Home value growth, slower than the west side, but definitely steady. 1 out of 2 home value growth. Diversity of homes, newer homes, townhomes, a lot of older stock, really pretty cool area in that way. And we're calling it a 2 out of 2 because you got a lot of different options in what you want here for the diversity of homes. Walkability. There's a lot of walkability in these newer developments that are like whole and community developments, and try to give it so that you have everything you need within a walkable area. But you're still not at the downtown core. You can't walk to Newport Avenue Market. So you get a 1 out of 2 for walkability. It's gonna get better over time. You can count on that. But right now, it's not perfect. Desirability. Again, people want to live here. It's not the prestige neighborhoods, but everybody knows it's a good, solid neighborhood that they would be stoked to be in for the long term. So it's got a 1 out of 2 for desirability. Access to trails. Again, we've got some killer parks with good trails, but it's not a trail hub. It's not at the front of Phil's. So we get a 1 out of 2 for access to trails. And then the main gripe here, it's not terrible, but the traffic congestion can get busy on 27th or Greenwood. So be mindful of that. But other than that, it's pretty mellow once you're in Mountain View neighborhood. So 1 out of 2. Okay, that gives us a total of 18 out of 24 for the Mountain View neighborhood. What do you think? Let me know. Okay, our next neighborhood here is Century West. Let's talk about it. So the vibe here is definitely that it's one of the most family-oriented West Side neighborhoods. Parents often brag about getting access to the Summit High, which is Ben's flagship high school. The price range we're looking at is kind of that $750K to $1.5 million. And a lot of the stock is like 2000s, some larger family homes, and then some townhomes. So yeah, really popped in the 2000s. Great place, Century West. And see how it stacks up in our scoring rubric. Feeling of community, very family oriented, near the schools, people are engaged. We're calling it a 2 out of 2. Amenities, limited inside the neighborhood, but you've got access to all of them with an easy drive, so it's a 1 out of 2. Proximity to shopping, again, you're 10 minutes to downtown, so expect to drive to do so. 1 out of 2, proximity to shopping. Proximity to schools, this is where it shines, okay? We've got Cascade Middle, Summit High School, a 2 out of 2 for schools. This is, if I was to sum it up in one point, I mean, this is one of the biggest selling points of Century West is access to top-rated West Side schools. Again, with the good schools, good neighborhood West Side, you get safety. Safety, it's as safe as we get. 2 out of 2, super safe community. Home prices, this is where, it gets you access to the West Side, the schools, that kind of thing. But it's still, you're looking at that 750 to 1.5 range. So it's a 1 out of 2. You gotta give a little, it's not perfect. And it's also not the like $3 million range. So you got that going for you. HOA costs, yeah, you're gonna see some HOAs for sure. They're moderate. It comes with the territory. It's not the worst, but it's a good 1 out of 2 for HOA costs. Home value growth, again, supply and demand here. This access to the school districts is what people are clamoring for, and they're not making any more of them like that. So 2 out of 2 for the home value growth. Diversity of homes, it's a mix of townhomes, larger houses, again, a lot built in that 2000s development era. So I would say a solid 1 out of 2 for diversity because you got the different options, but you're looking at that 2000s era housing stock. Walkability, it's, walkable. You can have beautiful walks, but as far as just living life walkable without a car, ain't gonna happen. 0 out of 2. Desirability is super desirable. People want to be in this neighborhood and will continue to want to be in this neighborhood for a long time to come. So 2 out of 2 for desirability. Access to trails, again, while you're car dependent for a lot of other things, access to trails is killer. Access to the mountains, incredible. 2 out of 2 for access to trails. Traffic congestion, you guessed it, it's pretty darn good, except for when? 3:30. Yeah, when the school gets out, pick up, drop off, it can be pretty brutal. So 1 out of 2 for traffic congestion. The key that everybody says is just don't drive at those times and you'll be fine. Unless you have to do the pickup or drop off game. Okay, so where are we at for our total score? We've got a total score of 18 out of 24. Pretty darn good, but we got a couple more neighborhoods to go that rank even higher. We've got Larkspur, and this is one of my favorites right now. What's so great about it? Basically, it's an awesome place to retire. It's an awesome place for families. It's an awesome place for affordable homes. Let me tell you about it a little bit. So the price range we're looking at is at 500 to 750K, which is really the accessible point in Bend's market. You've got the awesome rec center, like I talked about. We've got Larkspur and Juniper, which are like the retiree workout social facilities. If you haven't been there, I highly recommend you check them out. I'm a huge fan. Let's see how it stacks up with our scoring metric and then go from there. Feeling of community. It's still got that suburban vibe, so it's not like super dense and everybody's on top of each other, always interacting. Yeah, everybody's kind of got their own space, but there's definitely a strong community vibe, especially like I said, with the fitness centers. Those are like the community hubs. So 1 out of 2 for community. Amenities, again, let me just keep talking about Larkspur and Juniper. I won't shut up about it, so I won't. This is like my Larkspur and Juniper filibuster. Don't mind if I do. Again, 2 out of 2. This is killer. Great amenities, great resources, great community hub. So again, if you haven't been to them, make sure you check them out and get familiar with them. Super reasonable pricing too. Proximity to shopping. We're near Target, 3rd Street corridor. We got everything we need. We're great. We're in a good spot. 2 out of 2. Proximity to schools. We've got good schools in the neighborhood. Again, not the top West Side schools, which is kind of the metric in all of it, but Bend has great schools. So 1 out of 2 for proximity to schools. Safety. It's super safe inside the neighborhood, but you got some of the busier roads. So we're calling that a 1 out of 2 for safety. Home prices. This is again where it shines because this is an amazing neighborhood, still very close to the downtown core, got great amenities, and the home prices are great. We're calling it a 2 out of 2. HOA cost. There's not a ton of HOAs here, so a 2 out of 2 because there's just a few. Home value growth. This place is just rock solid, steady, super solid neighborhood. So we're calling it a 1 out of 2. Diversity of homes. Again, we've got apartments, new subdivisions, older homes. It kind of ranges from that like 1970s to 2000s to even some current infill. You'll see the ADUs getting built. So big wide range. I call it a 2 out of 2 for diversity of homes. Walkability. If you want to walk to the rec center, and I know you do, you can do it. But you're still going to end up driving a fair amount. So you're not totally car dependent, but you're pretty close. An e-bike would get you most of the way. We're calling it 1 out of 2. Desirability, again, this is more in the minivan versus the Maserati spectrum. So it's desirable, but it's not a prestige neighborhood, but it's desirable. We're calling it 1 out of 2 for desirability. Access to trails. We got some good parks, no big trail hub, but like a lot of good parks and a lot of good neighborhoods to walk through. So we're calling that a 1 out of 2. Traffic congestion inside Larkspur, it's not bad, but you're inevitably going to encounter 3rd Street, which can be a little spicy, a little congested. So we call that 1 out of 2. Okay, how did we do at Larkspur? We're calling it 18 out of 24. Pretty good, but we still got a couple more to go. And next up is Southern Crossing. Let's do it. Okay, we got Southern Crossing now. This is a really cool neighborhood, but the traffic can be brutal. So if you're in it and you want to bike around and have your experience that way, you'll be stoked. The price range we're looking at is $650K to $1.2 million. A lot of older ranches, 2000 infill, new condo, townhomes. So it's got a lot of opportunities. And then we're right in the Old Mill District. I mean, this is pretty sweet. You want to get to the amphitheater for a show on a summer evening. It's all right here. So let's see how it measures up. Here we go. Number 1, feeling of community. What are we saying? I think we're saying it's like a 1 out of 2 because here's the deal. It's a great place to live. Lots of people want to be here, but because people might be coming here for school or they might be coming here just for a short time because it's got that real attraction, there's a little bit of that transient aspect to it. Anyways, 1 out of 2 for feeling a community. Amenities. We've got OSU campus. We've got the Box Factory. We got a lot going on here. We got Hayden Homes Amphitheater. There's just there's everything. There's so much here. We're saying 2 out of 2 for the amenities. Proximity to shopping. Again, we're walkable to Old Mill. You can't beat that if you want to shop there. So 2 out of 2. Proximity to schools. The schools are decent. It's super decent. Again, you're straddling the river, so depending on where you're at, depends on what school district you're in, and we're calling it a 1 out of 2 for that. Safety. This place is super safe. There can be some different mixed perceptions of safety depending on where you are, but at the end of the day, super safe neighborhood. We're calling it a 1 out of 2. good, safe neighborhood. Okay, home prices. So yeah, they're moderate now. We're in that like 650K to 1.2, but they're on the rise, and they're going to continue to rise because people are discovering how sweet it is to have such good access to the amenities, access to the river, all of that. So expect them to rise for sure. HOA costs. There's a few HOAs, but they're mainly low, pretty minor HOAs. So we're calling that low 2. So we'll call it a 2 out of 2 for HOA costs. Home prices, we're saying 1 out of 2. Home value growth. I think this is probably one of the biggest aspects of this neighborhood because of its location, because of its access to amenities, because of the walkability nature, which we'll talk about. Super high value growth. I think there's a ton of opportunity because of all the redevelopment happening here for the values to continue to climb. So I'm calling it a 2 out of 2. Diversity of homes. We've got condos, infill, older homes, a pretty good assortment depending on what you want. So 2 out of 2. Walkability. Again, this is where this place shines. 2 out of 2. Desirability. Okay, so some people may not say this place is dreamy, but it's super desirable because of how functional it is. So I'm saying it's a 1 out of 2. You could twist my arm and say 2 out of 2, but I'd say 1 out of 2 just to be conservative for the desirability. And access to trails. While we're not right at the doorsteps to Phil's, we are right at the Deschutes River Trail, which will connect you all through town. And that's huge. I mean, that's huge when you're right at the river. So 2 out of 2, you can walk to the river. You can't beat that anywhere in the world. Traffic congestion, gnarly. This is a much better experience to live in this place when you walk mainly, bike mainly, than drive mainly. You're gonna be in traffic, but it's not terrible. You're not gonna be in it for long, but you are gonna see it every day. So count on that as far as traffic congestion goes. 0 out of 2 for traffic congestion. So how'd we do for our total score? We've got 19 out of 24. That's pretty darn good, but we still got a couple more neighborhoods, and we'll finish up this video strong. Let's do it. And this first one is Old Bend downtown. I'm calling these both the same because you're functionally downtown in the neighborhood. Old Bend is made up of these amazing old craftsman bungalows, so charming, and it's small. It's super small. It makes up, I don't know what, it's 15 blocks. It's small and beautiful. The price range is nothing to shake a stick at. They're $900,000 to $2 million. I mean, it just goes to show how desirable this neighborhood is. The homes are charming, of course, all of that. Let's see how it scores, okay? Let's do it. Okay, feeling of community, second to none. You walk around, you'll get to know your neighbors. I mean, I don't even live in Old Bend and I know the neighbors there because I walk around the streets. I'm just endlessly charmed with it. You've got Jackson's Corner. You got so many good coffee shops, so much. You got it all. The feeling of community, 2 out of 2. It's historic, it's beautiful, very connected community. Okay, the amenities. We've got everything you want. You got access to everything. 2 out of 2. Proximity to shopping. Again, you're in the heart of Bend. You can walk downtown in the blink of an eye and you're stoked. 2 out of 2. Proximity to schools. Again, you're close to the West Side schools. You can go. You got great schools here. You're in good shape. 2 out of 2. Safety. Super safe. Super walkable. It's the best. 2 out of 2. Now we're finally going to get somewhere. Home prices. Very expensive. Very expensive. We're looking at $900K to $2 million for like a 1920s bungalow, right? That's un poco loco. That's a lot of loco. HOA cost. No HOAs. So 2 out of 2. Home prices. 0 out of 2. Home value growth. This is a very limited supply of homes. So the home prices just keep getting higher and higher because of the location is amazing. You can live your life in like 4 square blocks. It's so cool. And you on a bike, you're stoked. Home value growth, 2 out of 2. Diversity of homes. Yeah, you got the historic homes, the remodels, the apartments. 2 out of 2, and there's so many charming homes here. So if you can't find a home you like here, you probably want to spend less because the prices are crazy. Walkability. Again, this is the most walkable neighborhood in Bend. You can't beat it. 2 out of 2. Access to trails. You got the river trail. You got Drake Park. You can just live your life on a trail and get wherever you want. It's 2 out of 2. It's so good. Traffic congestion. Traffic gets gnarly. People are around downtown. Summertime, it swells like crazy. It can get busy. 0 out of 2. We got a total score of 22, and let's leave it at that. Okay? Okay. Capiche? Capiche. Drum roll, please. The final neighborhood, my favorite, River West. And this neighborhood is amazing. We've got a mix of 1920s to 50s cottages, remodels, modern infill. The prices are high too. You're looking at that 900 to 2 million plus range. River West is Bend's playground. So let's see how it measures up Let's go. All right, feeling of community. Boom. Super lively, eclectic, strong community. This place is amazing. 2 out of 2. Amenities. You've got Newport and all the good things they have to offer. It's great. 2 out of 2. Proximity to shopping, downtown West Side shops, 2 out of 2. Proximity to schools, 2 out of 2. Access to the top rated schools, West Side schools. You got it, right? Safety, as safe as it gets, 2 out of 2, super safe. Home prices. Oh, shoot, dang it. That's not a 2 out of 2. It's a 0 out of 2 because they're expensive. You're looking at like, yeah, $900K to $2 million plus. It's expensive, but it's, you know, it's worth it. HOA costs, again, because it's like kind of in this old mill up to the 50s development. Very few HOAs. HOA costs, 2 out of 2. Home value growth, again, super short supply, super charming neighborhood. Probably the strongest appreciation in Bend, truly, because this place is amazing. And the only thing, what's that expression? The best time to plant a tree is 30 years ago. The next best time to plant a tree is today. And that's very much like buying a house in River West. Home value growth, 2 out of 2. Diversity of homes, again, cottages, new builds, apartments, 2 out of 2. It's amazing. Just drive it. I'll show you around. Walkability. Again, the walkability is everything here. It's amazing. Excellent walkability, 2 out of 2. Desirability. Everybody wants to live here. This place is amazing. Most sought after neighborhoods, 2 out of 2. Access to trails. You got the river trail, you got Shevlin nearby, 2 out of 2, okay? Traffic congestion. Our favorite, 0 out of 2 because it gets congested. C'est la vie, what are you gonna do? It's not the worst thing, but you're better off on a bike or on foot, and there you go. Okay, so what's our final score here? 22 out of 24, some say 26. Let's leave it up to the scholars for that one. Either way, it's the highest ranking, tied with Old Bend at 22 is Summit, or is River West, my favorite. And I hope you've enjoyed this comparison. I've sure enjoyed doing it. I'm losing my voice because I've been talking so much. And so just remember, choosing the wrong neighborhood in Bend isn't just about lifestyle preferences. It can mean paying too much for a home that won't hold its value, getting stuck with long commutes, or limited amenities. So you might just miss out on the community vibe you were really hoping for. And my job as your local Bend real estate expert is to make sure that doesn't happen to you. You get placed in exactly the right neighborhood that you're gonna love forever. It's gonna appreciate how you want it to. You got access to the schools you want it to. So if you're looking to relocate to Central Oregon and Bend, give me a call anytime, 541-633-3422. Click the link below or scan the QR code if you're watching a TV to download my relocation guide to tell you everything you need to know before moving to Bend. And I hope to be here for you when you need to buy a home. And I hope you've enjoyed this video. So without further ado, please subscribe and like, and I'll see you in the next one.